Her name was written in smudged ink on a cardboard sign. Lila, anything helps. She sat outside my coffee shop every day, her green eyes catching mine through the glass, and I couldn't look away. By the third week I was bringing her coffee and a blueberry muffin, pretending it was just kindness, but my heart knew better. My name is Claire, and I run the Daily Grind, a small coffee shop in Burlington, Vermont. It's the kind of place where locals linger, gossip flows like the espresso, and the scent of roasted beans clings to everything. I'm 32, practical, and not the type to fall for someone who lives on the street. But Lila wasn't just someone. She was a mystery wrapped in a worn leather jacket, her voice soft but sharp, like she'd seen too much but still hoped for more. I'd watch her from behind the counter, sketching in a tattered notebook or humming a tune I couldn't quite place. She never asked for anything, but I gave anyway: coffee, pastries, a warm place to sit when the Vermont chill crept in. It started in October, when the leaves turned fire red and the air bit at your fingertips. Lila had been coming around for weeks, always sitting on the same bench outside, her sign propped against her backpack. I'd noticed her before, but that day something shifted. Maybe it was the way her hands shook as she held the sign, or how her eyes met mine with a quiet defiance, like she was daring me to see her. I brought her a coffee, black, no sugar, and set it down without a word. She looked up surprised and said, "You don't have to do this, you know." Her voice was low, almost musical, and it hit me like a shot of caffeine. "I know," I said, shrugging, "but I want to." That was the first time we spoke. The next day I brought her a muffin. By the end of the week, she was coming inside, sitting at the corner table by the window, her notebook open, her pencil moving in quick, deliberate strokes. I'd steal glances while steaming milk or wiping down tables, wondering what she was drawing, what her story was. She didn't talk much, but when she did, it was with purpose. "You ever think about running away?" she asked me once, out of nowhere, her eyes locked on mine. I laughed, caught off guard. "From this place? Sometimes. But it's mine, you know? Built it from nothing." She nodded like she understood more than I'd said. "Must be nice, having something that's yours." I wanted to ask what she meant, but a customer interrupted, and Lila slipped back into her silence. Still, her words stuck with me, burrowing deep. I started looking forward to her visits, to the way her presence made the shop feel less empty. My staff, Jen, my barista, and Mike the baker, noticed too. "You're soft on her," Jen teased one morning, smirking as I handed Lila a fresh scone. "I'm not," I shot back, but my cheeks burned. I wasn't ready to name what I felt, not yet. I dated before, men mostly, but nothing serious. I told myself I was too busy for love, that the shop was enough. But Lila was unraveling that lie, one quiet smile at a time. By November, she was a fixture in the shop. I'd given her a standing offer. Free coffee and a pastry, no questions asked. She'd thank me always, but never with more than a few words. One day, I caught her sketching Mimi face, mid-laugh, captured in soft pencil lines. "You're good," I said, leaning over her table, my heart racing. She snapped the notebook shut, her cheeks pink. "It's nothing. Just practice." "Let me see," I pressed, teasing but curious. She hesitated, then slid the notebook toward me. Page after page, there were sketches of the shop, the street, the customers, and me, over and over. My hands on the espresso machine, my smile as I greeted a regular, my silhouette against the window. I felt exposed, but not in a bad way. It was like she'd seen parts of me I didn't even know were there. "Why me?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She looked away, her fingers tracing the edge of her coffee cup. "You're real. Not like most people." That night I couldn't sleep. Lila's words, her sketches, her eyes, they haunted me. I didn't know her story, but I wanted to. I wanted to know why she was out there alone and why she kept coming back to my shop. I wanted to know her, all of her, and that scared me more than anything. The next morning she didn't show. I waited, checking the bench outside, the corner table, the street. Nothing. By noon my stomach was in knots. Jen noticed, nudging me. "She'll be back, Claire." Probably just moved on for a bit. But she didn't come back. Not that day or the next. The shop felt wrong without her, like a song missing its melody. I started asking around, checking with other shop owners, even the shelter downtown. No one knew much, just that Lila had been in Burlington for a few months, keeping to herself, never causing trouble. I kept her last coffee cup on the counter, unwashed like a placeholder for her return. A week later I saw her. Not at the shop but at the edge of town near the old train tracks. She was sitting on a crate, her backpack beside her, staring at the horizon. I parked my car and walked over, my heart pounding. "Lila," I called, my voice sharper than I meant. She turned, her face unreadable. "Claire, what are you doing here?" "Looking for you," I said, too honest, too raw. "You stopped coming." I was worried. Her eyes softened, but she didn't smile. "Didn't think you'd notice." "I noticed," I said, stepping closer. "Why'd you leave?" She looked down, kicking at the dirt. "Got hard to keep coming back. Knowing I can't stay." I didn't understand, not fully, but I heard the weight in her words. "You can stay," I said, the words spilling out before I could stop them. "With me. At the shop. Wherever." She laughed, a bitter sound. "You don't even know me, Claire." "Then tell me," I said, my voice breaking. "Let me know you." For a moment she didn't move. Then she stood, her eyes locked on mine, and I saw something shift like a door cracking open. "Okay," she said softly. "But you might not like what you hear." I didn't care. I just wanted her back in my shop, in my life. I didn't know then what her story would cost me, or how it would change everything. But standing there with the November wind biting at us, I knew I was already falling. Lila's story came in fragments, like pieces of a puzzle I had to fit together myself. We sat in the back of the daily grind after closing, the shop quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. She held a mug of chamomile tea, her fingers wrapped tight around it, like it was anchoring her to the moment. "I grew up in Ohio," she started, her voice steady but distant. "Small town, big expectations. My dad was a pastor, my mom his perfect shadow. They wanted me to be someone I wasn't." She paused, her eyes flicking to mine, searching for judgment. I kept my face soft, urging her to go on. "I was 18 when I told them I liked women. They didn't scream or cry, they just looked at me like I was a stranger. By the end of the week I was gone." "Gone?" I asked, leaning forward, my heart aching for the girl she'd been. "Packed a bag and left." "They didn't stop me." She shrugged, but the hurt was there, raw and sharp. "I've been moving ever since. Chicago, Boston, now here. Never stay long. Safer that way." "Safer from what?" I pressed, though I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. "From getting too close," she said, her voice barely audible. "From breaking things." I wanted to reach for her, to tell her she wouldn't break anything, but the weight of her words held me back. Instead I asked, "Why Burlington?" She smiled, faint but real. "Heard it was kind. Figured I'd test that." I laughed, the tension easing. "And? How's it holding up?" "You're making a strong case," she said, her eyes catching mine. For the first time I saw warmth there, not just defiance. It made my chest tight, like I was breathing too fast. Over the next few weeks, Lila became more than a visitor. She'd stay after closing, helping me clean tables or stack chairs, her sketches piling up in her notebook. I learned her quirks, how she hated sugar in her coffee but loved cinnamon, how she'd hum old folk songs when she thought no one was listening. I started sharing too, telling her about my dad's heart attack that left me running the shop at 25, about my fear of failing the one thing I'd built. She listened, really listened, her eyes never leaving mine. One night, as snow dusted the streets outside, I caught her staring at me while I counted the till. "What?" I asked, half laughing, half nervous. "You're beautiful when you're focused," she said, so matter-of-fact it stole my breath. I froze, my hand still on the cash. No one had ever said that to me, not like that. I'd always been the dependable one, the one who kept things together. But Lila saw something else, something I didn't even see in myself. "Lila," I started, but she stood, closing the distance between us. Her hand brushed mine and it was like a spark, electric and warm. I didn't pull away. Neither did she. From then on, it was different. We didn't name it, didn't need to. She'd linger longer, her touches lingering too, her fingers grazing mine when I handed her a coffee, her shoulder brushing against me as we cleaned. The shop became our world, a bubble where the outside didn't matter. But it did, and I should have known it would creep in. One morning a man came into the shop. Older, maybe 50, with a hard face and a suit that didn't fit the Burlington vibe. He ordered a black coffee, But his eyes kept darting to Lila, who was sketching in her corner. I watched him watch her, my gut twisting. When he left, I asked her, "You know him?" She shook her head too quick. "Never seen him." But I didn't believe her. There was fear in her eyes, the kind I hadn't seen before. That night she didn't stay late. She left her notebook behind, open to a sketch of me laughing, but the page was torn like she'd started to rip it out. I held it, my fingers tracing her lines, and wondered what she wasn't telling me. The next day she was back, but something was off. She barely spoke, her eyes scanning the street outside. I tried to joke to bring her back to me, but she just smiled, thin and forced. "Claire," she said finally, her voice low. "You ever feel like you're running out of time?" "All the time," I said, trying to keep it light. "But you're here now, right?" She didn't answer. Instead, she reached for my hand, her grip tight, like she was holding on for dear life. "I don't deserve this," she whispered. "You." I wanted to argue, to tell her she deserved everything, but the words caught in my throat. Because deep down I knew she was carrying something heavy, something she wasn't ready to share. And I was starting to realize that loving her might mean losing her. Winter tightened its grip on Burlington, and so did my fear of losing Lila. The man in the suit came back, always alone, always watching her. I started keeping track 3 times in 1 week, then 4. Each time Lila's face would harden, her sketches growing darker, all jagged lines and shadowed faces. I asked her again if she knew him, but she deflected, saying he was just a creep. I wanted to believe her, but the truth was clawing at me. One night after closing, I couldn't take it anymore. "Lila, talk to me," I said, blocking the door as she tried to leave. "Who is he? Why are you scared?" She froze, her eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. "It's nothing, Claire. Let it go." "It's not nothing," I snapped, my voice sharper than I meant. "You're pulling away. I see it. I feel it." She looked at me, her green eyes glistening. "You don't get it. If I stay, I'll ruin you." "Ruin me?" I stepped closer, my hands shaking. "You're not ruining anything. You're everything." Her breath hitched, and for a moment I thought she'd run. But then she kissed me hard, desperate, like she was pouring all her fear and want into it. I kissed her back, my hands in her hair, the world falling away. When we pulled apart, her forehead pressed against mine, she whispered, "I'm sorry." "For what?" I asked, my voice trembling. "For this," she said, and then she was gone, out the door into the snow. I didn't see her for 2 days. The shop felt hollow, the air too still. Jen tried to cheer me up, but even she knew something was wrong. On the 3rd day, I found her notebook tucked behind a chair, like she'd left it on purpose. Inside was a letter, scrawled in her messy handwriting. "Claire, I never meant to let you in. I've been running for years, from my family, from myself, from him. His name's Victor. He's not a stranger's my past, and he's not done with me. I can't drag you into this. You deserve better than a ghost like me. But I love you. God help me, I do." Lila, I read it again and again, my hands shaking. Victor. The man in the suit. I didn't know who he was, but I knew he was why she was running. I grabbed my coat and headed to the shelter, then the train tracks, anywhere I thought she might be. No one had seen her. By nightfall, I was back at the shop, staring at her letter, my heart in pieces. The next morning, she walked in. Her face was pale, her jacket torn, but she was there. I ran to her, pulling her into a hug before she could say a word. "Don't do that again," I whispered. "Don't leave me." "I had to," she said, her voice breaking. "He found me, Claire. He always does." "Who is he?" I demanded, pulling back to look at her. "Tell me everything." She sank into a chair, her hands twisting together. "Victor was someone I trusted. Back in Chicago. I was 22, broke, alone. He helped me, gave me a place to stay. But he wanted more than I could give. When I left, he didn't let go. He tracks me down every city, every time I try to start over." I felt sick, rage and fear twisting inside me. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because you're good," she said, tears spilling over. "And I'm not. I'm a mess, Claire. I don't get to have phthisis." "Yes, you do," I said, kneeling in front of her. "We'll figure it out. Together." She shook her head, but she didn't pull away when I took her hand. That night, she stayed at my apartment above the shop. We didn't talk much, just lay on the couch, her head on my chest, the silence heavy but warm. I thought maybe, just maybe, we could outrun her past. But Victor came back. This time he didn't just watch. He waited outside the shop, his car idling across the street. I saw him before Lila did, and I marched out, my heart pounding. "Stay away from her," I said, my voice steady despite the fear. He smirked, leaning against his car. "You don't know what you're in, sweetheart. Lila's mine." "She's not yours," I spat. "She's with me." His eyes narrowed and he stepped closer. "You'll regret this." I didn't flinch, but inside I was terrified. When I went back inside, Lila was gone again. Her notebook was on the counter. A new sketch inside, two women, hands clasped, standing against a storm. I didn't sleep that night. Lila's absence was a weight I couldn't shake, her sketch burning in my mind. I called the shelter, the police, anyone who might know where she'd gone. Nothing. By morning I was a wreck, but I opened the shop anyway, hoping she'd walk through the door. She didn't. But Victor did. He came in at noon, his suit crisp, his smile cold. "Where is she?" he asked, like he already knew the answer. "Get out," I said, my voice shaking. "You're not welcome here." He leaned on the counter too close. "You think you can keep her? She runs. It's what she does." I wanted to hit him, to scream, but I just pointed to the door. "Leave. Now." He laughed, low and cruel, and left. I locked the door behind him, my hands trembling. Jen found me crying in the back, her arms around me as I told her everything. "You need to go to the cops," she said. "This guy's bad news." I knew she was right, but I also knew Lila didn't trust the police. She told me bits and pieces, how they'd ignored her when she tried to report Victor years ago, how they treated her like she was the problem. I couldn't betray her like that. But I couldn't lose her either. I spent the next day searching again, checking every corner of Burlington. On the second night, I found her at the train tracks, sitting on the same crate where I'd seen her before. She looked exhausted, her eyes red-rimmed, her backpack heavier than usual. "Lila," I said, running to her. "Why do you keep doing this?" She stood, backing away. "You don't get it, Claire. He'll hurt you to get to me. I can't let that happen." "Then let me help," I pleaded. "We can fight him. Together." She laughed, a broken sound. "You think love fixes this? Doesn't. It makes you a target." Her words cut, but I didn't back down. "I'm already a target. I love you, Lila. I'm not letting you go." She stared at me, her walls cracking. Then she collapsed into my arms, sobbing. "I don't know how to stop running," she whispered. "Then don't," I said, holding her tight. "But run with me." We went back to my apartment, and for the first time she told me everything. Victor wasn't just an ex, was a predator. Someone who'd manipulated her when she was vulnerable, who'd stalked her across states when she tried to escape. She'd never gone to the police again after Chicago, too scared they'd dismiss her. I listened, my anger growing, but so did my resolve. "We're going to stop him," I said. "I don't know how, but we will." She didn't believe me, not fully, but she stayed. Over the next week, we made a plan. I talked to a lawyer friend, Sarah, who knew about restraining orders. She warned us it might not be enough, but it was a start. We gathered evidence, Lila's stories, my notes about Victor's visits, even a photo I'd snapped of his car. Felt like something, like we were fighting back. But Victor was always one step ahead. One night I found a note slipped under the shop's door. "She can't hide forever." My blood ran cold, but I didn't tell Lila. I didn't want to scare her more. Instead, I kept her close, letting her stay in my apartment, teaching her how to make lattes, trying to build something normal amidst the chaos. One evening, as we sat on my couch, her head on my shoulder, she said, "You make me want to stay, Claire. For the first time, I want to stay." "Then stay," I whispered, kissing her forehead. "We'll figure it out." But the next morning, I woke up to an empty bed. Her backpack was gone, her notebook left behind. A new letter was tucked inside. "I'm sorry, Claire. I can't let him hurt you. I love you too much." "Lila," I screamed, throwing the notebook across the room. She'd run again, and this time I didn't know if I could find her. But I wasn't giving up. Not on her. Not on us. I didn't open the shop that day. I couldn't. Lila's absence was a hole in my chest, and every corner of the daily grind reminded me of her corner table, Her sketches, the way her laugh had started to fill the space. I sat in my apartment, her notebook open, rereading her letter until the words blurred. I wasn't angry anymore. I was desperate. I called Sarah, my lawyer friend, and told her everything. "We need to find her," I said. "And we need to stop him." Sarah was calm, practical. "File the restraining order. Get the police involved. If she's running from this guy, we need to make it official." I hesitated, knowing Lila's fear of the system, but I didn't have a choice. I went to the police station, her notebook in hand, and told them about Victor. They listened more than I expected and took the evidence: her letter, my photos, my account of his visits. They issued a temporary restraining order, but they warned me. Without Lila, it was just a piece of paper. I spent the next week searching, putting up flyers with her sketch of us, asking everyone in Burlington if they'd seen her. The town rallied. Locals I barely knew offered to help, sharing stories of Lila's kindness, how she'd drawn portraits for kids or helped an old man carry his groceries. She touched more lives than I'd realized, and it made me love her even more. On the 8th day, I got a call from the shelter. "She's here," the worker said. "But she's not staying long." I ran, my heart in my throat. When I saw her sitting on a cot with her backpack, I nearly broke. "Lila," I said, my voice cracking. "Please, stop running." She looked up, tears in her eyes. "I thought I was protecting you." "You're killing me," I said, kneeling beside her. "I can't do this without you." She reached for my hand, her grip weak but there. "I'm scared, Claire." "He's always there." "Not anymore," I said. "I went to the police. There's a restraining order. We're fighting him." Her eyes widened, fear mixing with hope. "You did that? For me?" "For us," I said, pulling her close. "I love you, Lila. I'm not letting him take you away." She stayed. It wasn't easy. She was skittish, always looking over her shoulder, but she stayed. We worked with Sarah, building a case against Victor. The police tracked him down, a drifter with a record of harassment in 3 states. He wasn't just Lila's ghost, was a predator, and we weren't his only targets. The restraining order held, and when he violated it, showing up at the shop one last time, the police arrested him. It wasn't over, not completely. Legal battles loomed and Lila's scars ran deep. But she started healing piece by piece. She moved into my apartment, her sketches covering the walls, her laughter filling the silence. The shop became ours, not just mine. She'd draw portraits for customers, her talent turning heads, bringing in new faces. We were building something, not just a life but a home. One spring evening, as the snow melted and Burlington bloomed, we sat on the shop steps, sharing a coffee. "You know," Lila said, her head on my shoulder, "I used to think I didn't deserve this. You changed that." I kissed her, soft and sure. "You changed me too." She smiled, her green eyes bright. "Guess we're stuck with each other." And we were. Lila, the homeless woman who used to eat for free at my coffee shop, took my love away, not by leaving, but by showing me what love could be. It was messy, terrifying, and worth every moment. We weren't running anymore. We were home. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.